How much water, or well, you're British, so in your case, beer. How much beer would it take for a 90-kilo man, say a 200-pound guy, to drown?
Hello, everybody. Thank you once again for joining us right here on the YouTube channel for our latest edition of our preview of In-Depth newsletter with me, Nico Lurot. And over to my side over here, we have got the rock star tech diving legend, Mr. Michael Menduno. And you wanted me to play Back in Black. I'm not getting a copyright strike. No. No copyright.
I do see that the GUE community is moving away from just all black, so that's a good sign.
Finally, says me wearing black. Michael, it's one of my favorite times of the month, joining you right here on the channel to talk about all of this preview goodness. What's on le menu for today?
Well, I want to start you with a couple questions, if I may. First of all, what is the most common cause of diver fatalities?
Oh, I like this question. Buddy separation?
No, not it.
How about...
That doesn't immediately kill you either, I might add. It may hurt a little, hurt your heart, but...
Okay, so then it's got to... Okay, you're a tech diving legend. This is going to be something tech related, surely. So getting gases mixed up. So, poor gas calculation.
That is certainly a major contributing factor, but that's not the answer I'm looking for. Divers underwater. What can go wrong when you're underwater?
I'm going to go back to my instructor days as a instructor for the other guys. Drowning.
That is the most common cause, yes. So good for you. I have a couple more questions about that, though. Number two, how many people drown every year globally? Any idea?
Divers or people?
People.
Oh, gee. Not a clue. 4,000?
All right.
I'm pulling that number out of nowhere.
We will come back to that. Final question.
Go.
How much water, or well, you're British, so in your case, beer. How much beer would it take for a 90-kilo man, say a 200-pound guy, to drown?
Depends where he's from.
Yeah, so if you're from Liverpool, you could, I get it, or London, or...
That was a terrible Scouser accent. Yeah, a lot, if you're from Liverpool. Much love to our friends up in the north.
All right. So we'll come back to those. We'll come back to those in our talk. But let me start out. We have a really an exciting issue, I think. We're leading off with British expat photo alchemist Tom St. George in a piece that we call Limestone, Light, and Water. And this is he's an underwater photographer. And just magical images. So we're going to feature that to kind of kick off the issue. I'm actually in one. I got to go diving with Tom and his partner Julia, and we did one of these shoots. So it was just really amazing. Of course, the Yucatan where they live is pretty awesome. So anyway, we're leading with that. And then we're going to dive into shipwrecks. We got a couple really good shipwreck stories. The first, we call it Confessions of an Aspiring Shipwreck Explorer. It's a guy, Nicholas Thomas Grone, and he's an entertainment entrepreneur, works in Hollywood, and he got interested in ocean liners, and from ocean liners, he got into shipwrecks. He's actually not a certified diver, but he's a money guy and an entrepreneur, and he really is, he became obsessed with the Lusitania, the wreck of the Lusitania, teamed up with a man, Greg Bemis, who's now deceased, who owned the Lusitania until he passed about a year ago, and is also working with a group called Lusitania 17. So a lot about the Lusitania. Interesting in this, for my old magazine, Aquacore, we have reports from the first dives on the Lucy by tech divers. I have a piece by Gary Gentile, famous author and shipwreck explorer. And then an interview with Polly Tapson, British Polly Tapson, now deceased, who led the first expedition on the Lucy back in, I think it was 1994. So it's a really interesting piece. I think people will enjoy it.
Yeah, that's something that our GUE community are going to love. Wrecks.
Yeah, wreck diving, right? And the Lucy is, slowly collapsing like a lot, like most shipwrecks. And so there's a push to preserve it and get the key artifacts out. There's a museum in Kinsale in Ireland. And anyway, the article talks about all that. So it's pretty interesting. Nice. Our second dive into shipwrecks is by one of our returning authors, Carlos Lander from Venezuela, a dive geek. And the piece is called Dive into History with Thailand's archaeologist Sira Ploymukta is his name. He's a lead archaeologist for the Ministry of Arts or Culture in Thailand. And this is really talking about their exploration, figuring out that Thailand was in the middle of kind of right in the center of a transoceanic trade routes, and also on the peninsula. And it talks about how they're finding these shipwrecks, how they're excavating them, and kind of by understanding the type of shipwreck, they can figure out where it came from and all that. So it's quite interesting piece. Yeah, I think people will enjoy it.
I can tell you from having spent 10 years of my life there are some world-class shipwrecks in Thailand, and no one talks about them.
Right.
But
so these are the guys working on it. We actually have a table they put together.
The Portuguese, the British, the Dutch, right? The Sri Lankans, or the Ceylonians, as they were known then. Like, there's so much wonderful history off the Thai waters. It's crazy.
Truly, yeah. And I hear the diving's good too. Warm water, clear water.
It's right up my street.
Right. So from there, there's a little more GUE Insider. We have a piece called What Drives Quest's Eclectic Editor-in-Chief Jesper Kohler. Probably as most people know, Panos Alexakos has retired as the editor of Quest. He's had it for 22 years, and Jesper is stepping in. Jesper is really a very eclectic guy. He's Danish, he's a musician, he's a music teacher, he's a tech instructor, he's a recreational instructor trainer. He was the editor of the Danish dive magazine Dyke for 15 years, and also launched a publication called Dive Into the World. He's organized dive conferences. I think he put together GUE Denmark, GUE Scandinavia. Anyway, he's been involved in the community, and he is currently the marketing manager at Deep Dive Dubai, which we just had in our last issue. So we caught up with Jesper to talk about what his vision is. And, basically he's hoping to transform the 22-year-old, call it a journal, right? It's sort of, Quest is sort of a journalesque publication, into a stunning digital dive juggernaut. So that's his challenge, and I think people will be blown away by the new issue. It's really spectacular.
Yeah, I can't wait for it. And just two quick things before we move on. So with regards to Deep Dive Dubai, there's going to be a full Q&A next Monday with myself and Jared. So that's going on the channel. So a week today. Also, because I know that some of our friends at GUE Scandinavia do watch this video, please don't hate us. We know that you said Dyke, Dike Club.
Dike. Oh, not Dyke.
Sorry. And I just know that someone like Anya Bakkanen's going to message me on Instagram going,
I am not a Dyke. Yes, right. Oh, God. How funny. Sorry. Yes, we kid our lesbian sisters. Yes, I mispronounced ugly American, So anyway, a couple news items. I do want to get to our big features today, but a couple news blips. As you might know, GUE is partnered with Dan Europe and Scuba Digital. It's a virtual dive show. This will be their second year, and it's going on in late October. So we have a piece about that and some free tickets we're giving away. So log in. So that's happening. And one of our authors, Darcy Kieran, who did that great tech instructor survey last month, has a great piece sizing the global scuba diving market, looking at how big is scuba diving. So he's got a study that he's done that we have a link to that's definitely worth checking out. So
a couple news. Did you know that scuba diving and skiing are the two biggest industries in the sports leisure industry?
I'm skeptical. Skiing is, I would think that's much huger than diving, but maybe I'm wrong. I did not know that.
The amount of equipment involved and because of the overall cost of diving versus doing something like football or hockey, you know, the overall cost of actually doing these sports is so much greater than all other sports leisures that between diving and skiing, we take up the biggest part of the sports leisure industry.
Well, I believe that. I mean, the tech diver goes into the water wearing $25,000, $30,000 worth of gear, easy, right? Scooter, rebreather, stages, yeah. So, computers, yeah, that could be. Wow, interesting.
Yeah, mad, huh?
Yeah, it is. So, anyway, all right. So on to let's go back to our questions then. Yeah, you were right. The drowning is the most common reason why cause of diver fatalities. It's not the trigger, but it's what results when you die underwater generally.
Right.
And about 960 people die every day globally. It's a big number. In the U.S., about 10 people die a day. So it's a real problem.
960 a day, yeah?
Yeah, 1,000 people a day, basically. Yeah.
Quick math, 350,400 a year. That is a terrifying number.
Yeah, yeah. And then how much does it add? It takes a surprisingly little amount of liquid to drown, whether it's water or beer, or if you're a commercial diver diving in sewage. For a 90-kilo, 200-pound diver, it takes about 270 to 360 milliliters. That's a can of White Claw or a Starbucks Grande coffee. That's all it takes to drown. Yeah, pretty amazing. So we have a great piece. I think it's going to be kind of a seminal article on drowning called The Causes, Physiology, and Process of Drowning by Andrea Zafras. She's a medical legal death investigator. And her and her partner, Butch Hendricks, very well known in diving circles, longtime NAUI people, they have been investigating underwater deaths for 30 years and teaching people on rescue and recovery in the public safety sphere, etc. And she's really put together a seminal piece on what is drowning, the process of drowning, some of the physiology and pathophysiology, what happens when you drown, and then looks at the causes, which come down to insufficient skill, right? You don't know how to swim or, other problems. Incapacitation, which is usually what impacts divers, right? You have an oxygen toxicity event and seize and drown. You go unconscious. You run out of gas. All those things, incapacitation. And then incorrect or misuse of personal protection equipment. Overweighting is a big issue, that sort of thing. So it's really an interesting piece. It's our geek piece of the month, but I think it's drowning is not that well understood. Andrea points this out, either among divers or even among professionals who investigate water deaths. So this piece, I think, will provide a lot of valuable information of what people need to know.
Well, I mean, the numbers for themselves, if 350,000 people a year are dying from drowning, that means that it's clearly not being respected or understood. Otherwise, the number would be lower.
Right. I mean, a lot of these are not, aquatic sport deaths. They're kids falling into a river, or
it could be a rip current by the beach. It's exactly. Again, a lack of familiarity with the water, and I would argue maybe a lack of respect for things like bodies of water.
Yeah, and humans don't float generally unless you're really obese. Once you release the gas from your lungs, you're going down, and if you're underwater. And you don't have something to breathe, you're going to drown. So it's a really interesting piece. So we've been working on it for a couple months and finally got it together. So I think people should find it really eye-opening. Yeah.
Nice. Sounds awesome. Love it.
Yeah. The issue will be out next week, next Thursday. What's Thursday? What date is that? Do we know the 4th of August, I think? Is that the 4th? Thursday.
Checking my calendar now.
Yeah, look at your phone. Where's my phone? We're dependent on these things.
Thursday is the 5th. You were close.
5th. We're on the 5th. So watch for your issue coming out on the 5th. And yeah.
And where can people find this issue if they're new to InDepth?
Of course. Go to indepth.blog or GUE.com/blog, and you will find our work there. So hope you enjoy it.
Fantastic. And guys, from me, if you do want to follow Michael and I, you can find us both on Instagram at Nico Lurot, at M2Base, to see what we're up to. Michael's off to Mexico any moment to dive. I'm off to Croatia in the coming days to dive. So you can follow what we're doing there. Also, keep a lookout on the channel for our upcoming video with Jared Jablonski talking about Deep Dive Dubai. That will be coming out a week today. So a week Monday, basically. And yeah, just keep it on the channel, like the video, share the video, tell any diver that may be interested in tech diving content brought to you by a tech diving legend. And remember, best of all, it's free.
It's free, yes. So subscribe. Yes.
That's all from us for this edition of InDepth, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Michael, thank you for your time, and I will see you next month.
See you next month. All right. Bye, everybody.